What's up, YouTube? Welcome back, and tonight we have with us a special guest, DocFoxTV. He's a Warzone streamer, mostly over at twitch.tv. Awesome dude. Make sure you check him out. And tonight, we're going to talk about something else. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Let's Play Death Ray. I'm David.
I'm Jake.
I'm Kyle.
And we have with us Doc Fox tonight, so we're going to have some fun. Doc, you want to introduce yourself and tell people where they can find you real quick?
Yeah, what is going on, everyone? My name is Doc Fox. People call me Chance. It's completely fine. You guys can find me pretty much anywhere on social media that has DocFoxTV after it. That's Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, everything. .com/DocFoxTV. That's where I am.
And don't be like me. Follow him on Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a jerk, David.
I know, right? Look, I follow no one on Twitter. I'm the worst.
What you talking about, David? What's Twitter? I still don't have an account.
This is what I deal with.
Dang.
And I only follow the people the robots tell me to follow, so it's not my fault that I'm not following people.
Oh, there's so many inside jokes laced into that. Anyways. But yeah, so thank you for coming on, first of all. We always enjoy having good conversations. I have a feeling we're gonna get into some fun stuff. I guarantee we will not get to half of my notes.
We never do.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's why I stopped preparing questions, because we never get to them.
It's a setup for having him come back. All right.
I have questions prepped.
Yeah, I already have to say we can't, we have to avoid apparently a bunch of stuff because chat thinks you're gonna try to make us cry, and unlike some other people, that doesn't make me sad. So I'm fine with that. I'm not gonna fight you. But real quick, I do want to touch on the first thing that I pulled out from the information you gave me, because you're current Army, correct?
Air Force.
Air
Yeah,
Force.
he's Air Force.
That's right.
Air Force.
That's right.
It's in his paragraph of his biography.
I know, Kyle. I know.
One question, and you're already fucking up, David. Terrible.
No. Okay.
No, question,
so,
David, do you know what his job is in the Air Force?
yeah, he's 11 bang bang, right? He goes and shoots. No, I know that he's a paramedic and does the EMS stuff. I know all of that. So my question was, I didn't remember if it was Air Force or Army. My question was that the initial, because I know how these kind of go, was that the initial branch that you wanted to sign up for, or did you kind of get recruited into that?
No, the Air Force was the initial branch I wanted to sign up
Okay.
for. I had my dad who said, because I joined when I was 19 years old.
Okay.
And my dad was like, listen, I'm thinking about joining like the Army or something like that. And my dad's like, if you're joining anything, you join the Air Force. I had some family friends that were like, dude, don't join the Army. This was back in 2009. So like anybody that was older than me that joined the Army just got out of the shit. Am I allowed to cuss?
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Okay, just guess. Yeah, so they just got out of the shit, and they were basically like, don't do it. You're gonna hate it. So I just decided to go talk to the Air Force recruiter, and he was like straight up honest. He's like, listen, man, I always hit my quotas, like because they have quotas. He's like, I always hit my quotas. If you show up, you show up. If you don't, you don't. I'm completely fine with it. And so I stuck with it, and I think 6 months-ish after like talking to him, I was sent off to basic training. So here I am, 12 and a half years later.
I'm always curious with that because every single person that I know, with the exception of 2 that joined the military, went in and ended up in a different branch than what they were originally like signing up for. My brother included. He ended up Air Force for 8 years. And as security forces, but he went in to join the Army, and it just so happened that the Air Force recruiting and everyone but the Marines in our mall where the recruiter offices, they were all right next to each other. And so it's very common for people, especially from our hometown, who join to be like snatched up by one of the other branches while they're waiting to talk to one of the other recruiters or something like that. So
yeah, our recruiter's office were all down the same hallway. Like it was like if you got rejected by one, you could literally just walk out the door and walk straight across the hall. And
Yeah.
go to the next one, be like, okay, here I am.
Okay.
But they said I have a hierarchy with it. I'm like, you go for the Air Force, okay, and then move down to the Navy, and then go for the Army, and then go for the Marines. It's just kind of based off of living conditions.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
and
Oh,
usually
okay.
like
Okay.
it's usually like because if you want action, nah, Marines, Army, you're gonna get the action. But like,
Right.
Air Force, I've never been to deploy. I've never been over. Like, I've been to Alaska, and I've
Right.
volunteered to go places, but mine's a job thing because I'm a paramedic. There's not very many of us. We're like unicorns. So they don't send us overseas too often. It's a unicorn. Yeah.
Well, okay. And I was curious about that because that was going to be my next question. Yeah, I know there's some jobs that like never get deployed, and then there was my buddy who signed up to be a civil engineer for the Air Force because he thought he'd never be deployed, and boy was he wrong.
Yeah.
They sent him to Afghanistan twice.
Yeah.
So-
That's one for sure. With CE, we definitely need them. I'm like, any place where there's structures, which is
Yep.
like overseas deployed, you're gonna need CE. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's easy for them to deploy. With paramedics, like I won't say regular medics. With medics that are just EMTs, they'll be more likely to deploy than me because there's only 350 of us in our slots that we're in stateside. So like sending one away is a huge hit to the mission. So they're like, we're just gonna send somebody else, unless it's like a real like no shit situation where they actually need like a paramedic. They're like, we can't afford to lose anybody like straight up. So most of our missions that the paramedics get to go on are the ones that people are like, we don't talk about this after the mission's over. Like, it's straight up like, this is some secret squirrel shit, or stuff that's not something you're probably going to read about in the paper.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Spoken heroes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, that's the reality of it. Is unfortunately when you have the extra training and the extra abilities that you guys do, yeah, it's really only used when it's needed, which I on one hand is good. Yeah. Pardon me. You said you went to Alaska. I didn't. Is that an Air Force base?
There are actually 2 Air Force bases in Alaska. One's a joint base, and then one is a. Actually, there's another one that's a guard base, but it's like basically might as well be a hole in the wall. You blink, you drive past it. But yeah, there's one that's right in the middle of Alaska. So if you think of Alaska like a fist, like this is
Yeah.
Alaska, there's one like right here, and then there's one like down here by the coast, which that's Anchorage, which is really
Yeah.
nice. The other one's up by Fairbanks.
Okay, I knew there was a base in Anchorage, but I was thinking it was an Army base for whatever reason.
No, that's the joint base, so they got Air Force and Army connected. It's basically
Okay.
like right across the street from each other.
Okay, that could be what I was thinking of. Because despite with the exception of my brother, I mostly hang out with like folks who were former Army and the psychopath Marines. But we don't talk about that.
They will come.
So now, anyone who has spent as much time around military individuals as I have knows that there's places you never want to go. Is there a place that if you had been stationed that you would have preferred, I guess? Or have you been able to go to your preferred deployments?
Every single time that, other than my first, I've kind of had the chance to sway kind of where I get to go, especially this last time. Like, I straight up picked, like, I was like, here we go. I want to go here. I told the people that were in my leadership and they got me. Like, I had put in for the application for it on like a Friday and had an assignment on like a Monday. Like, it was super easy for that. But, now before that, I was in Idaho for 3 years.
Okay.
And that place was, I tell people, I'm like, that's a hidden gem. Like, if you're ever out in Idaho, like it's gorgeous. There's like, and the thing is like where I was stationed was it's so weird with military bases. Usually they put them in the middle of nowhere. Either that or they put them in a big city that's not really the best big city to be in. So it was in the middle of nowhere. I had to drive 45 minutes to get to Boise. Mountain Home Air Force Base is the name of the base. But the mission's great, and the people there are great. Like people, that's the best part about being in the military is like whenever you get to locations that are a little bit more remote, where you have to drive pretty far to get to people or to get to a city, the people on that station are usually really, really close, really tight knit.
Right. Yeah. No, that's cool. I've heard of that base. I don't know anyone who's been there. I think I've driven past it a couple times. Jake and I actually have family in Post Falls. Well, not Post Falls anymore. Most of our family up in the Idaho area is unfortunately passed on, but my sister and brother-in-law and all of them are back up in like the Coeur d'Alene, Post Falls area. So he kind of grew up around that area. Ran around the state with my dad. Good Lord. And then now we're all located in Wyoming, so F.E. Warren is here.
Yeah.
So get a lot of the Air Force boys.
I would never want to go there, but that's yeah.
Understandable.
That's fair. Look, F.E. Warren, unless you're security forces, sucks. And the only reason
Yeah.
the security forces guys like it is because there's nothing to do. It is a cush job. But
Yeah, that sounds about right.
yeah. Look, it's Wyoming. Like,
Yeah, there's a few bases that are stateside that people are like, you just don't want to go there, just because it's either out the middle of nowhere. Cannon Air Force Base, which is in New Mexico, like it's Afghanistan is what people call it. Like it is legit. Like people are like, there's nothing in that town. Like it's rough, but yeah, I've been to Kirtland Air Force Base, Travis Air Force Base,
okay.
Wright Pat. Let's see where else. San Antonio, obviously, at Lackland.
Don't remember the name of the one in Minot. Ever had the displeasure of being
Minot's
there?
named Minot. Yeah.
Is it?
It's
Okay.
called Minot. Yeah.
It's
And,
awful.
no. Yeah, we have some family friends that are actually a close family friend. Their little brother is actually stationed at Minot, and he's like, "Yeah, it's not that great. Like,
Well, yeah.
it's not that. Yeah, it's just it's cold and windy and wet, and like it's not even fun.
Welcome to North
Yeah.
Dakota.
That's where
Yeah.
my brother was, and yeah, no, he's got all kinds of stories of doing different stuff in the snow and weather, and they'd have to go out, and his hand has been frozen to more than one metal object
Yeah.
because he's an idiot and has forgotten his gloves multiple times. So
Hey, I know that struggle. Like being in Alaska, like -60s. Like yeah, I know that struggle. The only good thing about Alaska is it's a dry cold. Like that's the best part. That's what. If you guys remember the movie Cool Runnings, like
Yep.
they go to Fairbanks,
Mhm.
Alaska, and he says it's not the heat, it's the humidity, which is funny because there's like no humidity in Fairbanks, Alaska. It's a very dry cold, and I'm like, it's not even correct. Like when I was a kid, I'm like, oh, okay, I don't want to go there. But yeah, now I'm like, it's not that bad.
right.
6 years was too much, but yeah, it's not that bad there.
So was being a paramedic something that you wanted to do before you joined, or did you kind of join up and then start down that path?
Oh, perfect. This is my my why story of like why I joined the Air Force. So whenever I was like a kid, like growing up and everything, even in high school, like junior high, always liked to help people. Didn't matter if it was like mental health, relationship advice, anything like that. I was a helper. Like I always like to take care of people and make sure that they were set. Because if I'm surrounded by happy people, usually I'm a pretty happy person. If you're surrounded by, it's that whole misery loves company kind of thing. Well, happiness loves company too. So when I was in high school, like I like to help people, and then whenever I joined up in the Air Force, you got your wish list. My recruiter's like straight up, like I said, he was very honest with me. Said, "Don't put an open job because you'll get security forces." So I didn't put an open job because I didn't want to be a cop. And even though that's a different type of helping people, but yeah. So like, I went in there and I went, okay, I want mental health for number one, and then medic for number two, and then like it was the other ones were like rad tech, public health, and I think maybe something that was not medical related that I knew I'd probably never get, which I didn't. So I got my number two pick. They're like, guys, like you're gonna be an aerospace medical technician, which I'm like, what? That sounds like I'm like that sounds like it's a space medic or whatever. Which
Right.
funny, we got a space force now, so
You can
but
transfer.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I'm like, y'all need space medics, right? Like,
Yeah.
someone's gonna need to go up there. So I got my second pick, and whenever I went through training, it's called technical school. So you had basic training, and then you go through technical school, which is where you learn your job. And I did really well in that one. But I got stationed in Alaska. But Alaska so happened to have active duty paramedics there. And the guy that was in charge of all the medics was like, hey, there's two places that you can work. You can either work in EMS, which is the ambulance service is what they call it, or flight medicine. And I said, I think I'm going to do ambulance services. Flight med is just a bunch of like administrative stuff. And I'm like, I'm not feeling that. I'm like, I'm a young single airman. I'm like, I get to work shift work over there. They're like, it's not really common for a brand new person to go into ambulance services because it takes initiative. You have to be self-driven. They're like, you can't be some dirtbag airman. They're like, you did really well in your training. How did you feel about it? But they're like, we're fine if you make this decision. I said, yeah, sure, I'll go over there. And they said, how do you feel about becoming a paramedic? And I'm like, the one thing I like about paramedicine is it's more autonomy. So like you're out there on an ambulance and you're the person that gets to kind of make the decisions of your care. And being an EMT, you don't really get to do that as much. You follow a set of protocols. It's very much by the book. And I was like, yeah, okay. So he throws down this whole like 1-year plan of like training. And I'm like, well, you're not going to like hinder me at all. I'm like, you're not scared of me. Let's go for it. And I wasn't intimidated. And after, I'm trying to think. So I went and it was basically 2 years from getting there. I went to paramedic school. I went to paramedic school for 6 months. Usually it's like a 2-year course in the outside or a 1-year course, depending on if you're getting a degree or not. We do it for 6 months in the Air Force whenever I went, but now it's 4 months, which is insane. And then after that, went back to Alaska and was there for another 4 years. Yeah, 5 years. Yeah, it was a while. Yeah, another 4 years in Alaska, and then left Alaska and went to Idaho. But it was one of those things where when they asked me if I wanted to be a paramedic, I'm like, yeah. I'm like, if it gives me more responsibility, more like I look better on paper, because that's a thing with promotions. Excuse me. And it's one of those things that I'm like, yeah, give it to me. I'm like, if it's something that, if I know, because this is one thing, like no matter, this is a stupid philosophical doc thing. If I know that I'm going to affect somebody's life, right? I would much rather be able to do it with the most capabilities that I possibly can do it. I don't want to be somebody that's staring somebody in the face and helpless. I want to be somebody that's there and know that, I've done everything that I can do for those people, at least in my capability. And that's something that's always been like a thing that always sits on my mind whenever I take care of somebody. I'm like, I don't want to be the person that's like, I could have done better. And it's kind of funny because in the Air Force, I have a generally healthy population to take care of, right? Like most people, like 18 to 35 kind of thing.
Right.
Like super healthy people, with the occasional very sick person. And there's a lot of room for complacency. Like we take care of people that are malingering, people that are like, oh, I don't want to run my PT test kind of thing. Or like people that, yeah, exactly. Kyle gets it. Or like people that just, they don't understand. Most of the time it's education. People don't understand what an emergency constitutes, like something that, hey, you could just hop in the car and go kind of thing. And it's just one of those things where it's like, all it takes is a caring person and a good medic to be able to explain to them that it's not really, it's something that might not be that serious. And, that's what I understand. It's one of those things that we talk about with liability. It's like, you don't want to sell them and basically force their hand into going, oh, I don't need to go to the hospital. But at least you tell them the most so they can make the most informed decision. It's like, this is something I'm not, because most of the time I come to my patients, I go, this is what I would do if I were in your situation. And that's kind of where we go from there, and it usually works out pretty well. And it establishes a really good rapport with my patients. People are like, oh, his bedside manner is amazing, but I don't want to be a paramedic forever. That's one thing I'll say.
That makes sense. That's fair enough. It's I can imagine can be very taxing at times
Yeah.
working with people on the mental health side of things. Pretty draining time. So I can only imagine when you're also responsible for physical. I'm very fortunate. I have nurses on site. I can just look. All right, he's calm. He's done. He's gone through the thing. Here you go. Go with the nurses. They can make you feel better. Uh,
Yeah.
pardon me. Why is everyone just so convinced that you were gonna make us cry?
I don't know, man. Like, I think it's just that whole, like you said, it's that whole mental health aspect of it. Is that
Yeah.
I do like to connect with people, and that's one thing
Fair.
that, like, over the internet, video chats, stuff like that.
Mhm.
Yeah, over the internet, it's not really a super common thing to connect to people, right? Most of the time, it's a text chat, and you're not portraying some sort of emotion over it. People just read it and be like, "This guy's being an asshole," when really you're like, "No, dude, it was straight up. I swear it was a joke," and you're like, somebody just takes it wrong,
Right.
and it's one of those things where that's the best part about video chats is that being able to convey that emotion, those nonverbals is huge, even in like even if you're not even using video. Like vocal intonation is huge whenever it comes to talking to somebody. You'll be able to tell if somebody's restrained, whether they're open, whether they're being honest. You can usually kind of tell that by their intonation, how they speak, usually their mental well-being and everything. And that's something that today's generation, which is my generation, it's okay, chat. I completely agree if you're offended by that. Today's generation just doesn't get. We're a technologically advanced generation. We're like, I don't like to call people to make my doctor's appointment. Like, I legitimately go online and make my doctor's appointment, and I order food through Uber or through like online. Like, I don't call somebody on the phone. That's not my thing. So like my thing is like I won't make those huge connections with people through that means, right? Because it's usually a service. We're a low context culture usually, where in high context cultures, people are usually a little bit more personal. They want to get to know you. So I like a good mix of it, where it's like if I'm having a conversation with you, like what we're doing with what I'm doing with you three, it's one of those things where I like to get to know you guys. I
Right.
think that's huge, rather than just being, oh hey, I'm just here for an interview. Let's just get this over with. I can go to bed or whatever. I like like that's not my thing. Like I want to get to know all of you guys. Like it's important. It's
Yeah.
it's having growing relationships and having that mental health is huge. Because if you go alone, it's going to be very difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the whole reason for why it's the whole basis of why I wanted to start this show. Wait, we've talked about it a couple times already with some other guests, but I mean, I all over Twitch, you see people talking about, the latest sports thing or the latest streamer thing or streamer drama, or you see 8 million podcasts, but they're all very Twitch centric. So we stay away from that for the most part. Like the main thing we want to talk about is you. What makes you you? What are you interested? What are you passionate about? Like, because we want to get to know other creators. It's also why it's such a pain in the ass to get people on here. Not that, don't get me wrong, the guests are always like, sure, yeah, but I spend a lot of time talking to people and looking at your content and seeing if you're the type of person I want to get to know. Because I don't want to waste your time, and I don't want to waste my time. You of course won me over in a voice call before I even knew who you were. That was an interesting conversation, and I absolutely loved it. But no, it's that genuineness and the way that you speak and the way that you hold yourself. Also, your fucking voice, phenomenal.
Thanks. I try. It's seasoned. Okay, I have a funny story about that. In 2020, I went to Disney World, which we'll get to that, I'm sure. In 2020, I went to Disney World with my wife and daughter, and I got sick. Like I left. This was before the COVID boom, before people were freaking out over it.
Right.
And I'm like, I could have had it, I could have not. I'm like, I was at Disney World around a ton of people. Like
Right.
mask mandate were not a thing. Like, and I got sick, and I was sick for like a week, and then I got a little bit better, and then I got bronchitis, which is just viral. And my doctor was really good. I went in there and like talked to him. I'm like, listen, dude, I just need a breathing treatment. I'm gonna go to training, and I just need a breathing treatment. I need some meds, and he hooked me up. But prior to that, I don't really think anybody told me they liked how I talk. They didn't like nobody told me they're like, I like your voice. And that's why I tell people, I'm like, thanks to getting sick in January of 2020 and February of 2020, I now have this voice, which like, what was it? At the beginning of the summer? Yeah. At the beginning of the summer, I got laryngitis and I lost my voice completely. Like I was like I couldn't stream, which was like just the worst feeling where I'm like, I can't stream. I can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And, all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, I finally got over it, and thankfully I got my voice back the exact same thing. Because that's what I was telling my wife. I'm like, what if like I got sick and then my voice comes back and it's not how it was before? I'm like, what if it's like just that one moment where I'm like, oh, it's like in Futurama. In case you guys have watched Futurama, for any
Oh,
Futurama
yeah.
fans, when Fry
Oh, yeah.
gets the worms on the brain or whatever, and he's
Mhm.
like an amazing like smooth guy. I'm like, what if it's like that? What if I get sick again? And then it just jacks up my voice completely. Yeah, it's rough.
Yep.
Which I'm coming off of a couple hours stream as well, so my voice is a little bit worn out even right now. If you catch me at like really good times, it's like that was the time to talk to Doc.
Although I don't know, because I've heard you when you're like about ready to pass out, and it's still you have a very even voice, which I like, and it stays very have a lot of tonal control. And so even when you get excited about something, you aren't like me who goes way through the roof. But I don't know. Yeah, you definitely have the voice for like voice acting and voiceovers and doing that.
Yeah.
I would imagine that you're
Well,
very successful.
my my best advice to anybody that's struggling with voice stuff, and I'm not like a professional or anything like that, is that I have my voice in my ears when I talk. Like that can improve your speaking so well because you can pick it up
How?
and go, okay, here we go. Like it's like you listen to yourself and you just go, okay, I'm like, okay, I'm going too high. I'm being too. The original reason that I ever started listening to myself in the first place was because I would be very loud at night when my daughter was a baby.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife would be like, can you just shut up? She's like, you're being too loud. You're playing PUBG or whatever game. Like, you're being way too loud. So I'd be like, okay, well, then I'll just listen to myself. So I'll be like, I'm just going to turn my mic on so that way I hear myself. And that's exactly what I did. And now I'm like, funny thing is I still yell, but I at least know when I'm yelling. So I'll be like, okay, guys, I gotta be quiet.
How
Yeah.
not drive yourself? That's like I
Right.
cannot stand. Like, and I mess up what I'm
It's
saying.
because I have a nice voice. No, the thing is, I don't have a delay. So like with the software that I use, I don't have a delay with it, so I can actually talk, and it's like immediate real time. Like if I took my headphones off, it'd be the exact same hearing, because that
Yeah.
was something that it took a sec. I know that with a lot of people, even if you get like that fraction of a second
Mhm.
that is off, you're like, you messed me up. Like there were those games that you could download, those apps where you'd be like, you wear a set of headphones and like you speak and it just completely jumbles your words because you're like, I'm listening to myself talk, but I cannot do it because it delays it by like a second.
Yep.
I can do like noise canceling. I can do that. These are super noise canceling. But that does tend to make me get louder sometimes. But I
Oh,
can't.
much louder.
Shut up. Shut up, Jake. But I cannot. I've tried. And maybe with the new setup, so I got a new XLR mic that I'll be setting up. Maybe there'll be less delay. But I can't with any sort of like any even like a millisecond delay, like I can't finish a thought because my previous thought is now going back into my brain.
Yeah. You hear yourself and you're like, wow, I can't think over myself. Yeah, I get that. It's one of those things where it's definitely I use Voice Meter is the application that I use. My microphone is a USB microphone, even though everybody's like, is that a Shure SM7 Beat? No.
No.
It's a Shure MV7. It's a USB microphone that has XLR capabilities, which is amazing.
Yep.
But yeah, that being able to, as Chad is saying, direct monitor is huge. Yeah, it's one of those things like being able to hear yourself is just fantastic in my opinion.
I've
'Cause
always
you can like understand, like you're like, oh, perfect. I know I know what I sound like, and you know, after I think that's gigantic with voice actors, right? Because like if you're a
Mhm.
voice actor and you are speaking and doing a bit or something like that, and you're like, oh, that is bad, or you get a voice crack. Like my voice gets tired at times. If you have a voice that's similar to mine, voice cracks are very often like can happen anytime. It can be, oh, I'm dehydrated, or oh, I it can literally be I ran out of air. Like it can be the simplest thing, you know, that just causes a voice crack. And you're like, yeah, I'm good. I'm like 30 something years old and this is still happening. Like that's just normal. Absolutely normal.
Yeah, I don't really get the voice cracking unless I try to like force a note that I just shouldn't be trying.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the idea of direct monitoring, and we tried it for our audio only podcast, and I can't do it. So bravo to those of you that work that way. I'm much more a set it and forget it kind of person. Because yeah, I do a lot of pre-show sound testing. These guys hate it. Especially when we do our like in-person streams, because like right now they're each in their own space, but it's all in the same house still. When we do our like Wednesday night streams and stuff, I have a couch with like 2 XLR mics over to my right, and they sit there, and there's multiple cameras and all. When especially if anything updates, if I have to change sound because I don't like how it sounds, if we get new equipment, we probably spend an hour to 2 hours testing it and tweaking it, and I make them do different things like, okay, now it's time for you to scream while you whisper so I can change the different settings and everything. Like I drive them up the wall, but and then I set it and forget it. But yeah, so I wouldn't be I'm not able to know if something changes unless someone tells me it sucks, which would be a cool part of direct monitoring. But I would go insane. I hearing myself that much, editing audio drives me nuts. I
Yeah,
don't like the
yeah.
sound of my
Well,
voice.
that is
Same.
definitely one of those things. Is like anybody hears themselves on an answering machine or their voicemail, and they're like, "Oh, I sound like that? Are you kidding me?" Like,
Oh,
yeah, it's like they're just like, "Hey, it's me," which is kind of funny because like on the phone, I sound completely different, right? Microphone quality kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like that's one thing my wife says is she's like, I hate my voice, which is funny because she's got a good voice. Um, but it's definitely one of those things where it's like she'll be like, I hate my voice. I'm like, it's just because of the mic quality. I'm like, it's the recording, the mic. I'm like, you don't sound good because of the mic quality. Which
Yeah.
after a certain point, mic quality doesn't like if you have a good voice, mic
Mhm.
quality doesn't matter a whole lot. I found that out early because when I first started getting compliments on my voice, I was using a $50 voice meter. No, it was a blue snowball ice with voice meter banana, and it was a refurb that I got online on Amazon, and I was like, I just want a boom. I'm like, I want a mic. I need a mic, and this one's got okay reviews, so let's check it out. And I'm like, oh, refurb. I'm like, even better. Like I get cheaper, you know. And yeah, I had that for a little bit, and I started playing with, you know, some bigger streamers and whatnot,
Mhm.
and played with some people where they had a few viewers, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, Doc's voice, blah blah blah," kind of thing. And I'm like, I'm like, maybe I should start. This gets on the whole why I started streaming kind of thing. But I'm like, maybe I should start streaming. And then after, which I do have my snowball ice, like there's a shelf up there. And I still have it sitting there because I'm like, that's kind of what started it all. I'm like, that thing, like playing it, like having chats on it. And people are like, oh my gosh, this guy has a good voice. And I'm like, nice. And then I picked up the MV7 probably 6 months ago. And I love it. Thing's amazing. Great dynamic microphone with USB and XLR capabilities.
Do you ever find yourself like going into I don't know, and maybe you don't do this, but like I very definitely have a different voice for when I'm streaming, podcasting, and things like that. Do you ever find yourself going into streamer voice when you're like on the phone with somebody or talking to somebody?
Oh man, almost all the time that I talk to somebody.
Okay.
The craziest thing is like, okay, so I'm a crazy person. I talk to myself all the time in the car. So as somebody that has kind of like that voiceover wannabe kind of like dreams, like whenever they're like, when I hear a radio commercial, I repeat the radio commercial to myself. You know, tune in to 98.7 if you want to listen to the that kind of stuff. And I'm like, that's what I do. So I get it to where my voice kind of like this has become kind of more the norm. Like people ask me, right? I'm a Call of Duty player and I go play like public lobbies and like if I'd be playing something like super chill, I'd chat with people and they're like, "Oh my gosh, your microphone," or whatever, and I'd have people ask me, and Mrs. Fox plays. They'd be like, "Is that actually like how he talks all the time?" And she's like, "Yeah, that's legitimately how he talks all the time." So it's become more of a norm for me to talk like this. Which I just don't. I'm like, I tell people, I'm like, I could probably raise my octave like higher and talk like that, but I'm like, this is just what I'm comfortable with. Like having that. I tell people it's that whole speak from your chest, kind of thing. It's like have that nice pressure down low and actually like project.
Right.
I have a voice that projects really well, so I stick with that, because I'm like having a voice that's lower. A lot of the times you either have to go to a higher octave so people can hear you, and times where it's like a high audio noise setting, you have to usually go higher because it's a lot easier to hear higher tones, or you project more and people are like, why are you yelling, kind of thing. But I'm a projection kind of person, where I used to be kind of a higher tone kind of person, and it's just one of those things that whole listening to yourself, that direct monitoring, huge, because you're like, oh, I'm actually going to listen to myself. I can actually tell if I'm going way high or if I'm going, if I stay, like you said, very even, like that monotone, like nice, easy kind of thing to listen to. And that's huge, is like being able to hear yourself and go, oh, okay, if I stay this monotone, people kind of enjoy that. And it's just one of those relaxing voice things that after listening to myself for so long, it's how I am now. I'm like, you would have caught me a couple years ago, completely different.
Yeah, no, I have a complete like voice disconnect. So like I'll hear, I know I've said something, listen to the record, I think it's someone else.
Yeah, he doesn't recognize his own voice. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's very weird in that fact. So it's like I think the first time I ever heard my own voice was like my phone recording voice for a voicemail.
Right.
First time I ever heard my voice, I thought it's like, that's someone else. That can't be me.
I remember the first time we talked about this, we thought he was doing a bit and like screwing around with us. Because there was a bit in a podcast that we all listened to, where they were arguing about something, and the guy who was being blamed for something was like, "That's not my voice. That's not a real recording." And shortly after that, Kyle heard his voice in front of us, and we were arguing with him, and he's like, "That's not my voice." And we thought it was a bit. The argument went on for like an hour and a half before we realized that no, he really didn't think that was a recording of him.
Yeah, I know I've said that, but I know my brain just tells me it's not your voice. It cannot be.
It's a really weird disconnect that people get with audio, which I think is also why audio is so, not to we try not to get too deep into content creation, but like why audio is so important for streaming.
Absolutely.
And it's
But that also that brings me up to something like the whole. Okay, do you guys all have inner monologues?
yes.
You have an inside
Sometimes.
voice that tells you stuff. Sometimes.
Sometimes
about
it
you,
becomes
Kyle?
vocal.
Yeah.
I've
A lot of
literally,
people
I've
will go
talked
external
myself.
monologue.
Yeah, I've literally talked to myself like on through like what I'm gonna do, and then completely forget about it. I've literally talked myself into what processes I need to do at work, things I got to do around the house,
Yep.
the process of going home. I've
He will
talked to myself doing it,
He will start a sentence halfway through a sentence
and
because
and these
the
two
other
will
part
look
of
at
it
me
was
like,
his
"What
internal
are you doing,
monologue.
Kyle?"
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've met people without an internal monologue. Like they're like, I'm like, you don't talk to yourself like inside your head. They're like, no. Like I don't even talk to myself outside my head. I'm like, how do you do stuff? They're like, I just do it. Like they just see it, they just do it. I'm like, that is the weirdest thing to think that you do not carry on some sort of conversation. Because like, well, and the craziest thing is like sometimes people have an internal monologue, and it's not even their voice that they hear.
Yep.
Like, it's the whole. If you read something with a picture of Morgan Freeman next to it, you hear his voice as you're reading it. You know,
Yeah.
a whole psychological connection to that. And
That's
it's
me.
yeah, it's insane. Yeah, it's like, who do you listen to? Who do you hear? Whenever you now everybody that's watching this, next time you read something, just hear it in my voice, and you're welcome.
That happens to me a lot. If I've like recently, or like I can tell when I've been on Twitch a lot, because I start to hear things in other people's voices that are in my head besides my own. Like when John did his subathon, and I was in there all the time. I could not say the words "hey" or "man" without hearing John screaming them inside my own head. That kind of stuff happens to me all the time, and it's really weird. But like if I disconnect from it for any real amount of time, then it returns back to my voice. But I also get images, like so I'm kind of a hybrid of that. Like some thoughts will come to me as just an image, without a monologue, which is really strange. More like the ones that I'm struggling to recall will be like an image or a concept rather than an actual.
That's most of what I only get an internal monologue if I'm like when I first wake up in the morning, or like if I'm very tired. And it's like almost like I have to do this in order to get myself to like do things. And then like once I'm up and going, or I get some sleep, it goes away. But I do have a weird thing where every once in a while I'll wake up and I have a third person like inner monologue going for like the first couple hours of the day, which is always like it's always one of those things that like feels very natural until like it occurs to me like a couple hours into the day. I'm like, why do I keep thinking like, and then Jake sits down, and then Jake takes a drink, goes like, what the fuck is going on?
I've never had that happen. I'll be
Oh.
honest. That's never happened. Where I narrate my own life.
Yeah, no. It's usually
No.
me talking to my I'll
Just
walk
me?
around.
Okay.
Yeah, just
Walk
you,
around,
Jake.
talk about what I need to do, or like have a complete like external conversation with myself.
I don't do that unless I'm angry.
It's funny because these two will definitely look at you like, "What are you doing, Kyle?" Or answer my question that I'm asking myself. It's entertaining, and I'm like, I'm not talking to you as I walk into my room.
That
I talk to myself. That's completely fine. That's a normal thing.
yeah, I would say it is. Honestly, and like as long as you're not, talking to parts of you or things that don't exist. Which for anyone who's ever actually witnessed that's weird. To someone who's suffering with that. But yeah, no,
Yeah.
thought processes are interesting, and the way that people arrive to conclusions. Like I link things, and they just kind of stay connected in my brain until my brain decides to make a different connection, which drives these two fucking nuts. Because if you were to make a joke right now about I don't really care what. Pick a video game. Next time we play that video game, I will reference your joke without like prefacing it at all, or just like mention your name, and they'll both look at me like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" But my brain has just forever connected you and that thing you mentioned, and that's just how it stays until I form a new connection there. Or so yeah, I don't know. Human thought's weird.
It is weird.
Yeah.
Man, we got in depth already.
We did. We got way off topic here, but that's
We're,
okay.
like,
That's
not
what
even an
happens
hour
here.
in, guys.
Us off topic? Never.
It's something
Uh,
else.
Yeah, look, that's what we do here. We just like to have interesting conversations, and I do have to say, I kind of anticipated that we would at some point go in on something like this, because I feel like you and I have similar backgrounds in some of that, as well as for being such an idiot, I'm such an analytical person. So I'm not smart, but I'll analyze things to death.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Do you ever get to that point with content, without content, whatever? Like I do it all the time, where that internal monologue, start talking to yourself, and then you get stuck on something, and then you just sort of tear it apart and analyze it to the point of that consumes half your day.
Nope. No.
I was about to feel real bad.
Oh shit! Really? Just me?
Yeah, it'd be
No,
terrible to
it's
feel
one of
that way
those
about
things, like-
something.
Yeah. Damn. No. Yeah, it is one of those things where like sometimes you just like you're like I have to figure this out or like come down with something, and there are times where and this is what people with more of that ADHD kind of brain, where it's like you're very dedicated and focused on something immediately.
Yep.
You gotta learn everything about it you can, and then all of a sudden you just lose interest. You're like, okay, here I am on my phone scrolling through TikTok, like, and it's just like, how did that motivation just disappear? Like you were just there, like wanted to do everything about it, and then you're like, I don't know how that just left. And it's interesting. It's very I do that a lot with a lot of stuff at work. I probably shouldn't. Streaming, it happens with that. You know, content creation, yeah, it happens with that. But yeah, I do that with a lot of stuff at work where I'm like, for me, it's because I was a shift worker for so long. Now I'm actually in charge of the entire ambulance services EMS that I work with on my base, and now for me it was because I was a shift worker. I was very used to getting things done on one shift. I'm like, I have to get it done all today. So I'm very much of it's the morning, let me get work done immediately, and then after that I'm like, I'm done. I'm just vibing. I'm chilling, you know, not focused on anything. Mainly because I'm like, you get this much dedication of my attention,
Right.
and then eventually it'll taper off, and I'm like, I can't do that. That's why like I write things down, because I need a to-do list, because I'm like, if I don't write that down, I will never do it. I'm like,
I'm the same
nope,
way.
later.
Yep. And then like it's very easy. I have a lot of ADHD tendencies. I don't think I'm actually ADHD, but the hyper focus is especially one of them too. I'm a similar way. I have to do the write down the list and stuff. And it's much harder for me to get a project done at 2 p.m. even though, you know, I can work on something from 8 to 10 in the morning and be way more productive and get it done. But if you give it that same project at 2 in the afternoon, the likelihood of me getting it done by 4 when I leave is pretty low. And I don't know why. And
Do you here? I have a question to ask. Oh,
Uh-huh.
damn, now it's Doc's show. Do you like to be early to stuff or right on time to stuff?
So this is a habit that has been slowly broken into more on time. But no, I am early. I am always early.
What does Jake and Kyle agree with that statement?
I mean, The thing is, it's another running bit that actually comes from that same podcast that David mentioned earlier. Of being early is just as bad as being late is one of their takes. Which I really like to throw at David because he gets very obsessed with being on time. But in actuality, I have really bad anxiety, so I am also a be early to the thing because I get anxious about being late to things.
Yeah. Yeah, he'll show up as early as I do and then give me shit for being there.
Yeah.
And I always show up either like 5 minutes before or on time. Like I've literally came out of my room. It's like, hey guys, time to stream.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm kind of. For me, it all depends. Is it's a yeah. I could be like Kyle with work stuff. I'm very much of an on time person. Because I enjoy sleeping. I'm a night owl, and don't wake me up and make me go to work and be there at 7:30. But because like I only have so much time in the day, and I'm like, let me maximize the use of that time. Things like this, obviously, if it's a first time thing, I'm very much of an anxiety driven person where I'm like, I gotta be early. It's not my thing. I want to be there, kind of thing. But if it's one of those things where it's like people that I work with, I'm very much of a, I'm like, I'll be right on time. Trust me, I'll be there on time. Which, if anybody knows the old jokes like with the military, is like the guy at the top says we got to be here this time. Guy at the top says 11 o'clock. The next guy down says, guys, we got to be here at 10:45, in place, ready to go. The next guy down, 10:30. The next, before you know it, everybody's showing up at 7:30 in the morning to wait 4 hours or 3.5 hours for the guy's meeting that he said, we want to be here at 11 o'clock. And that guy's like, why are y'all here so early? Like, he's like, I don't want to take too much of your time, because he's the type of guy that only has so much time. And he's like, I scheduled it at this time for a specific reason. And that's exactly how it works in the military. It's like one guy says it's this time, the next guy says, okay, we're going to go 15 minutes adjust to that. I'm not that kind of person. Of the people I work with, I'm like, straight up, if they said it's this time, it's this time. Don't be there. Like, you can be there 10 minutes early. That's completely fine. If you want good seating, usually, which is in the back. I don't understand why people think that there's some sort of weird stigma with, I gotta sit in the back, otherwise I could get called on or something. I'm like, those people are gonna call on you because you sat in the back. I don't know if you know that. Sit right in the front, intimidate them. Make sure that they know who's boss. Listen, I'm right here.
I took that tactic in college and it worked.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I stand by. I have that. Corrections is not as bad as the military, but it's very similar. If the meeting time trickles down through any amount of the chain of command, the meeting might be at 11, but we're all told to be ready at 8:30. So yeah,
Yeah.
It's called roll call. Every 15 minutes, roll
Yeah.
call.
Is everybody still here? Yeah. Oh yeah, everybody's still here. Okay. Yeah, it should be any minute now, guys. Any minute.
Any minute.
Any minute.
I've
2
been,
hours later. Any minute.
I've been fortunate enough to do a lot of work with the military and military personnel in my civilian life, doing airsoft simulation, milsim stuff on Camp Guernsey here in town, here in state, and yeah, the amount of times that we have shown up 2 hours early for things because that's when we were told to be there, but range control doesn't show up for 2 hours to guide you out and stuff like that. It's so crazy to me. But yeah. Anyways, that completely derailed where I was going. I'm sorry. Yeah. So to make kind of a hard shift to try to get to at least some of the talking points that I have.
What?
Yeah, just look.
This isn't it, David? This is
Look,
not it?
This is great. And also, if you want to talk about psychology of human voices, we can just do that the whole time. 'Cause that shit's weird. I've read into it. It's weird shit. But no.
Hold on. Let me go pull up the article so I can start learning about this.
Oh, God, Kyle. No, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about Disney, obviously, since you and your family are very involved with Disney. Because It's one of those things. I never was the kid who like wanted to go to Disney World. Um, Disney has always been very just sort of detached, even though I have an uncle who could, you know, he's involved with several of the movies and things like that in LA. But I don't know. It's one of those things that I guess baffled me why people were interested in it until I became an adult and started seeing things. So I always like to hear why, like, what part of Disney draws you in.
I mean, so you got Disneyland and Disney World. Disneyland is is the happiest place on earth, and Disney World's the most magical place on earth. That's their claim to fame, and that's what they say. And the craziest part is like if you read in the history of like Disney World and think of like what Walt Disney and what he was thinking, and how he came up with this idea was he wanted a place that wasn't just for like he sat on a bench and saw his kids playing and went, why can't basically like why can't I play too?
Mhm.
And the guy went, I have an idea. Like, why don't we make a park where the adults can have just as much fun as the kids? And like obviously I didn't know that. Growing up, I was very much of of whatever Disney kind of thing. I'm like, I don't really care about Disney. And then I met my wife, who is very much of a Disney fanatic. Like she she has a bachelor's degree in psychology. So if we want to talk about the mental health thing, like she's all about it. Um, she also like had to write a paper in college, and she did it on the Disney princesses, and like how each one was different, but also how like their similarities and
Okay.
like how interesting it was with compared to today's to society. Like
Right.
Snow White was like what, like 16 years old. Like most of them were all like young teenagers, you know. And it's very interesting to whenever you look into that kind of societal aspect of it, is like why were all these princesses marrying these princes at such a young age, kind of thing. And kind of get into the whole like psychology study of it, of you know whether it was a story that Disney wrote or some other story, you know. And that's really cool. But I remember the first time I went to Disney World, I didn't really care for it. I was in high school. It was for a band thing. I'm a band geek in high school, and I went for a band thing, and I went to Disney World, and we were there for a week, and I was like, okay, that was cool. There were some good rides there. There was okay attractions. But then whenever I met my wife and we had our daughter, and she's like, she started watching like YouTube videos of like going to Disney and whatnot. And she started talking to me about it. And I'm like, so one year for her birthday, I bought annual passes for Disney so that way we could go within, you know, because she basically sold me on it where she was like, if you go for at least 14 days, you get your money's worth. And I'm like, okay. So we ended up doing that and ended up going for at least 14 days before they expired. And initially it was like she'd be making plans and she would go, what do you want to do? And I'd be like, I don't care, whatever you want to do. I'm like, I'm just here for, I'm like, I'm footing the bill. Like, I will
Right.
pay for it. You guys just, you know, I'm like, you guys just go have fun. And it's, you know, my daughter's 5 and she went, I think, let's see, how old she's like 2.5 whenever she went. And it was one of those things is like, whenever we went the first time, it got me hooked with my family. Whenever we went the first time, it got me hooked because it was very much of seeing their joy and being able to do things as an adult. That's one thing I'm like, if you've ever been to Disney as a kid, just wait till you're like 21 or over. Like it's completely different. Like cuz it's like now you can drink alcohol in certain parks like Epcot, you know, like that's huge. It's like you go drink it around the world. I'm like that's a thing. People do it. Like um but not just that. It's like once you have kids, it's like then you see their happiness. Like one of my favorite videos of my daughter is the first time she ever saw Mickey Mouse, and she's like standing up so she could walk, and we put her down and she wants to go immediately. We're like, nope, that person has to go ahead of us. We're in line. We're next up in line. Just be ready for it. And then basically it was like open the floodgates, and she kind of like takes a couple of fast steps and then slows down and like kind of shuffles up and then comes up to Mickey and gives him the biggest hug. And I'm like, that kind of thing. I'm like, okay, when we talk about crying, that's something that like that would bring tears to my eyes. You know, it's one of those things like seeing the joy and happiness on my wife and my daughter's face, like going to Disney World was plenty. But now that I've been there, you know, my daughter's 5. We've been there 5 times. Now that we've been there so much, we understand like, oh, we want to go do this, we want to do that kind of thing. Understanding that one, we also Disney has its own timeshare thing that we invested in, which is great because then we get to go to Disney like once a year, basically for the hotel completely paid for, which is like a $3,000 to $5,000 value that we've paid for. Instead of paying for it within 1 week, we pay for it over 12 months, which is like, I'm like, that's a smart thing. And then we get it after we pay it off in the first 10 years, we get it for a total of 50 years. I'll be 80 years old when my contract expires with staying there. I'm like, perfect. And then say if something unfortunate happens to me and Mrs. Fox, it's transferable. We can just give it to, we can will it to somebody. So little Fox would get it and be able to stay there. It's just one of those things that actually going to Disney and seeing the magic of it, seeing the performance, seeing all of the rides and the effort that has gone into Disney parks over even the last 5 years is incredible. We own at their newest resort, which is called the Riviera, and it's a beautiful resort. It's like French themed, which makes sense, the French Riviera. But they have like a Skyliner that they go there, which is the one that everybody threw a fit about whenever it first came out because it broke down and like people were stuck on it for like 5 hours. But having that entire Disney experience, I'm like, it's not just a park that you go to for a day. Like at Disneyland, it could be a park that you go to for a day. But I'm like, at Disney World, there are 4 parks, 5 if you include Disney Springs, which is a fun fact. You don't even need a ticket to go there. It's just a shopping center. And it's amazing with amazing food, amazing attractions, like great. But being able to go to those 4 parks, like you can't just do it in a day. And you get to go to like, I've seen like lions face to face. I've seen characters that you see in a movie. So you watch Mulan or you watch Frozen and you see that character face to face. You get pictures with that person, you know. And even though I know that's a person to get up, whether it be like makeup or a full suit like Mickey Mouse is, it's like it just kind of pulls you away into this world that you would not think is possible. And that's something I'm like, a lot of people don't really understand it that way, but I'm like, you go the first time, if you're a kid, you don't really get it. But when you go when you're an adult, like after going for an entire week, it's like, wow, this is actually, I can't wait to go back. Like my wife and I, like, we'll have like, if say there's like a bad week or a bad day or something, you know, it's like, I just want to go to Disney and just like, just chill, just have a good time, eat. And I'm a foodie. I love food. Mrs. Fox loves food. The most amazing food. I had Wagyu steak there for the first time of having Wagyu steak. If anybody doesn't know what Wagyu steak, I'm more than happy to explain to them. It's the best steak in the world. Don't even, like, hands down best steak in the world. But there's just so much there whenever it comes to the food options as well. Like, if you go to Epcot, which is my favorite park, this is why I tell people, I'm like, this is why it's my favorite park. It's all the countries, you know, like not all the world countries, but a lot of them. You go to the UK and Epcot, the people serving you are from the UK. The people giving you the beer, like the beer is served the exact same style that it's served over there. You go to Germany, they're German. Like it's really cool that you get to connect, and that's one, that connection with people. You get to connect with people that are from different places around the world, and that's really awesome. I mean, Disney's just, I gotta tell people, like, don't just go once because it's probably not enough. Like you usually have to go 2 times to actually go, oh, I can finally start to appreciate things. Like my wife and I are at the point where it's like, because people do this once in a lifetime thing where they're like, oh, we're only going to go to Disney once in our life and we're going to do it for like 3 days or 5 days. And they do everything they possibly can do at that time and still miss out. And that's why I tell people, I'm like, if you're planning a 3-day vacation, you're not going to experience everything. It's not possible. I'm like, unless you're like there right on time and there to the end of the day, like things like there's a ride called Ride of the Resistance, which is Star Wars themed. It's a great ride. You have to get into a queue with your phone to do it. Like people are like, it's like trying to buy a graphics card online. Okay,
Oh, God.
for those gamers out there, it's literally one of the most difficult things to get into the queue for that. And
Right.
that's why I tell people, like, you need to just experience that. And it's one of those, I still haven't even written it, and we've been there 5 times, and it's just one of those
Right.
things where it's like, if we don't get it, we'll get it next time. And that's kind of what we go with, is like the fact that we go there so often, we're like, we'll get it next time. And then we want to retire in Florida, so it's like, if we get to go there, the best part is like, with that timeshare thing, there are 4,000 resorts around the world that you can use that timeshare at. Like, that's the best part about it. I'm like, yep, I'm sold. Like, we have a bucket list of going to every Disney park around the world, and I'm like, that's what I would love to do, is just have that little bucket list where it's like, been to Tokyo Disney, been to Disneyland Paris, been to Disneyland. We haven't even been to Disneyland yet, so that's like one of the easiest low hanging fruits. Like, just go to California and go to Disney, But yeah, that was a long ramble, but Disney's, the connection with it isn't just so much of, I was a Nick kid growing up. I
Yep.
wasn't so
Oh,
much
yeah.
of the movies and whatnot.
Yeah.
I watched, I'm a Rugrats kid. I'm that generation.
Yep.
And watching movies with my daughter, like most of the movies I watched were like recent stuff, My daughter doesn't want to watch Cinderella and whatnot. She wants to watch Moana. She wants to watch Frozen 2. Like, she wants to watch all the new stuff. Soul. She absolutely loved Soul when that came out. And watching those movies, it's so incredible to watch the animation. And like, you want to talk about crying? You're gonna cry at those movies. Like, you will guaranteed cry at Soul, like guaranteed. It's just one of those things. It's just like, damn, it's so wholesome. Like, it gets you.
I have Moana memorized because of my
Yeah,
son.
same.
So,
Mhm.
Frozen and Frozen 2, I probably also have memorized, but I try to block them and lock them away because they're the worst. Out of everything that he watched, although I take that back because he's gotten into the Mickey's Funhouse or whatever it is,
Yeah.
Mickey Mouse
Mickey
Clubhouse
Mouse
lately.
Clubhouse.
Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, yeah. MICKE1.
I would rather go back to the Frozen than
Oh, Toodles. Yeah, that kind of stuff.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yep. My son's only 2, so I know I have it for still, and I'm about to have another one. So Disney's just gonna live in my house for forever.
That's perfect. And then in a few years, you go to Disney. You can go to Disneyland since it's closer to you. But and Disneyland's a 1-day park. Like, that's the best part. So they have Disneyland and then DCA, which is Disney California Adventure. So it's like right across the street, basically same thing. So it's like you could get 2 days out of one trip to Disney,
right.
which is nice. Because like, whenever we go to Disney World, and it's like we do a week, and it's like usually that factors in 1 day at every park, and then 1 day at Disney Springs, and then 1 down day. We're just gonna chill. We'll go to dinner someplace. We're not really gonna go anywhere. We'll go explore Orlando or something, But yeah, we like the week-long stays.
Yeah, it's crazy to look at I've never really thought of it or registered it until I started looking at things for this podcast. I didn't realize how much bigger Disney World is than Disneyland. Like, oh my God. I went
It's
and
massive.
it is. I'd never realized it though, because like I always had the mentality of it is from my family is from California. Well, my dad's side is. And they always taught us that, well, Disney World's just Disneyland for the East Coast. No. Holy shit. It's like 3 times the size of Disneyland, if not more.
It's a city.
Yeah. It's insane. I pulled up the Google Map images of it, and it's crazy. Yeah, so I get what you're saying. There's no way you couldn't walk that in 1 day.
No, there are people that literally try to do the 5-park challenge or the 4-park challenge, where they're like, we're going to land in Orlando this time. We're going to get on the Magic Express, which that's not a thing anymore. We're going to get on the Magic Express. We're going to go to Disney. We're going to hop this park this time, and then we're going to go to the next one, then the next. I'm like, you don't even get a chance to do anything. Like, you basically get a chance to take a selfie in front of like the castle and then the tree and then probably Hollywood Tower of Terror, and then like at Epcot, I don't even know. Like, but it's like you get a picture at each place, and then you're like, okay, time to go to the next place. Like you have no time unless you're riding a ride that's like a walk on. It's like, oh, there's no wait time. You can go here, no problem.
Right.
But yeah, it's one of those things. I have dreams of one day doing voiceover work for that. I think it'd be really cool to go, be at Disney.
Right.
Welcome to Disney's Magic Kingdom. Like that kind of stuff would be really cool to do.
That was really fucking good.
Thanks. And it's one of those, like there's I do voiceover talk. Like I watch people that do the voiceover stuff, and I'm like, that'd be really good to do. It's like there's like the Disney. His name's Fortunate Son on TikTok, but he always does like this is the Disney voiceover challenge, or like the vehicle voiceover challenge.
Yep.
He's
Yep.
like,
Okay, I know exactly what you're talking about.
From the land of imagination to the world of adventure, this is Disney, and it's just stuff like that,
Yep.
And that's with a tired voice, but like I'm like that would be awesome to be the guy in movie trailers. I'm like that'd be so cool.
That would be cool. I mean, you could do it.
Thanks.
But that's
one day.
Yeah, that's crazy to me. But yeah. So are you more of a like if you had limited time, and weren't as efficient as you are, or as it sounds like you are with visiting Disney, are you more like do the shows and attractions sort of reel you in more, or do you like the rides? Are you the adrenaline junkie who wants to go on all those types of experiences?
So early on, we were like, there's some rides where we always went. Pandora Flight of Passage is one of the best experiences that you can go on at Disney World. Like you go on it, and it's this virtual reality, augmented reality kind of experience, and like they use these smellitzers is what they're called, and they like you fly through a river bottom and you smell mud. Like it's just one of those things where it's like that's an experience that is unlike no other. And there's a lot of experiences at Disney World where when it's a ride, there's certain ones where I'm like, this is a must do when we're here. But then the shows are really good. Like the ones that are like Over the Castle in Magic Kingdom, I've seen it, and that's one where I'm like, okay, good, got it. We saw it once, we're happy, kind of thing. The rides are definitely one where it's like we'll go on it every time. So we like the rides, mainly because is that it's usually because of crowds. It's like when I go on a ride, it's me and my family usually in one car, or me by myself and then my family on another car next to me. But whenever I'm at a show, it's you and everybody in the park right
Right.
around you. And I'm like, that's where like that part gets really anxiety driven and very much of a how the hell am I going to get out of here at the end of the night, where you're just standing in line, you feel like cattle kind of thing. We're like, we're going to leave before the park gets crowded. That's usually our thing, and it's yeah, it's one of those things where it's like we're very more of a ride driven thing. Like if there's a new
Okay.
show, we're definitely about going and check out the new show. But if once we've seen it, it's like, okay, we've seen it. We don't need
Right.
to deal with that crowd,
Okay. That makes sense to me. That makes sense. I I hate crowds. Look, I live in a small town comparatively. Getting bigger, unfortunately. I don't like when
It's shrinking again, David. Don't worry.
it is shrinking again, but that's because of the economy and COVID. But I hate going to the movie theater and not having a chair between me and the next person.
Yeah, anybody that sits at your movie theater that's like right next to you, you're just like, especially when there's empty chairs in the theater, you're like, are you okay? Like, what is happening in your life that you feel the need to sit right next to me, bro? Like,
Mhm.
I understand if I go to a theater and I'm looking for like prime real estate, I want to be like right in the middle, like at a certain row. But I'm like, dude, go one row back or one row forward. You don't have to sit right next to me. Like, yeah, I
Yeah.
get that.
Our theaters started doing the thing a couple years back, even before COVID, where you had to pick your seating, and they wouldn't let you like leave a space. So if I bought tickets, I couldn't leave a 1-seat space. You had to leave a 2-seat space. So like a lot of the times you couldn't sit exactly in the middle, which drove me up the wall, but you end up getting used to it. But yeah, no,
Buy
that
an extra ticket and be like, forget it. I'm just gonna buy an extra ticket. Here we go.
I have considered doing that a few times.
It's like I'm reserving this. Oh, they didn't show up. Oh well. I don't care. I paid for this ticket.
Right.
Are you
But
guys,
yeah, so I get that.
I gotta ask a question. I don't want to interrupt. Are you guys
No.
okay if I take a quick bathroom break?
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
fine.
I've
Go
been
ahead.
drinking a lot of water. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back. Quick word from our sponsors.
Hey, he's back.
Welcome back.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to your prime time amazing show. Let's finish this. Let's wrap it up. No, I don't know.
Well, okay, got it.
Oh, wrap it up. All right, we're done. Thanks, guys. This has been great. Okay, bye.
Playing off music? No.
Also, I love that French Moses freaking put the timestamp for when I need to cut. Thank you. That's perfect. But yeah. So to pick up back on I guess my last like real Disney related thing. With the Disney franchise, since they've now created, an empire, is it more of like the offshoots and the acquired things, properties for you that you enjoy as far as their content, or is it the original Disney, like Aladdin and Mickey and all of that jazz?
I think it's a mix of both. One of the coolest things about that, and this is gonna get kind of deep, is like like I have the shows that I grew up with. The shows that are Aladdin and the Jungle Book and like all those early like cartoons grown up with, like those hold a special place in my heart. But now I'm at a point, and you can understand this, is like when you start to have a child, those movies start to become their Disney, and it's one of those things like you connect with your child in a way that you probably couldn't without it. It's like when we go to Disney World, like there'll be a point in time where my daughter always asks to listen to Disney music, and it's like, and we sing. I mean, we jam. Like we're listening to the Frozen soundtrack, and we are like belting it out. But that little girl will also love to listen to, you like, let's see, Aladdin, like the soundtrack. What is it? Ain't Never Had a Friend Like Me.
Yeah.
Like she loves stuff like that, and it's one of those things where it's like really cool because like I get to introduce her to my childhood, and she gets to, I get to experience her childhood as she's growing up, and it's just all Disney content whenever it comes to the content stuff, and even there's a lot of fun stuff on Disney Plus.
Yeah,
where
there
it's
is.
behind the scenes, and that's what I tell people. I'm like, there's like stories of Walt Disney and like his real dream, because we're on social media platforms where people will be like, this isn't what Walt would have wanted. It's like Walt like smoked himself pretty much to death. It's like, it's unfortunate that kind of stuff happened, but it's like pretty sure, like, well, because people are like, they want Disney to be affordable. And Walt Disney never said that he wanted Disney to be affordable, because his thing was he wanted his parks to be like pristine. He wanted them to be clean. He wanted them to be nice. He didn't want there to be like riffraffs running
quality
around.
over quantity.
Exactly. And that's what Disney still holds to. And that's what, when people are like, this isn't what Walt Disney would have wanted for them to charge so much, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yes, it is. Trust. It's like, it definitely is. Like,
I don't know about where you're at, but when I was in Missouri, it seemed to be like a crossover between the guy who started Walmart and Walt Disney, and they kind of confused the origin of those two people.
Oh my goodness.
Because yeah, you listen to some of the folks that I used to work with in the South talk about Disney and Walmart, and they would like some of the things that would be attributed to Disney, they would attribute to the dude who started Walmart and vice versa. And so like I kind of wonder if that's where that comes from. Because I worked with an old gal in Truman, Arkansas at a Walmart while I was going to college. And she swore that the dude who created Walmart was frozen in cryogenics and under a statue of
my
him, and I went, no,
goodness.
that's Disney, but and that's the Disney story, right?
Like you have
Yeah.
Walt, and then you have the Waltons. Like,
Yeah.
it's completely different. I'm like, yeah. Oh my goodness.
And
That
it's
hurt my historian brain, David.
dude, it's not just her either. I talked to so many people who would get like little bits of Walt Disney and Walmart confused, which is crazy. But also in Arkansas, holy crap, Walmart is like a religion.
Yeah.
Weird.
They're like one of the most important families in like modern American business, but
But
like beyond like both being important business figures, they're so different.
yeah, it's. But anyways, to get back to the point I was making, it's interesting to see like where some of that has stuck in my head, and like watching behind the scenes stuff and listening to people talk, because the whole time I was like, that's not right. It's nice to be validated occasionally.
Yeah.
But yeah, I watch a ton of Disney Plus, although admittedly more for the Marvel stuff. We're all huge comic fans, in case you can't tell by my background.
I was
Um,
say, yeah.
I
I always joke with the Star Wars fans. I always say that I've never seen a Star War, and like people are like, a Star War? It's Star Wars.
yeah, there
Like,
were multiple.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's
I've
six
never
of
seen
them.
a Star War. Yeah, I've never seen one. Nah, like it's one of those things. Like my wife, she's never seen a Star Wars movie. It's one of those things that we're like, we need to watch the series some point in time. We're like, we go to Disney World, we go to Galaxy's Edge,
Mhm.
we go see the Millennium Falcon, we go do stuff that's Star Wars themed, and we're like, yeah, we never even seen a movie. We just know like a slight little bit of lore.
Need to watch the movies, man. Like that was look. If there were any movies that I was forced to like watch by my dad that I actually enjoyed growing up, because he forced me to watch a lot of stuff with him, was the James Bond movies and the Star Wars movie. Like that was just a staple growing up for me. And then going to Jake's house when we were kids, his brother had a lot of comics. And I'd always known, Superman and Spider-Man, but I really got to know them hanging out with them, and I spent most summers over at his place reading comics, and like all we would do is read comics and play video games.
Yep.
Who's your favorite Marvel character?
That's a difficult question, sir.
Who's your favorite Avenger? Like, come on,
Ooh.
you can break it down to one. Who's
Also
your favorite
harder.
Avenger? Yeah,
She's technically an Avenger. Squirrel Girl.
Squirrel Girl.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've heard of Squirrel Girl.
Really? Oh, she's great.
She's unbeatable.
Yeah. I love two types of Marvel heroes generally. Either the really goofy, crazy, like just off the wall, doesn't make any sense, but they make a fun story out of it. I like the goofy comic book sense of it. I don't want it to be hyper real most of the time. But then on the flip side of that, I also like heroes where you get to see their human side. So where you're battling with humanity instead of just superpowered big dudes fighting each other. So, that's always first. Oh, chat says hashtag Anna Kendrick for Squirrel Girl. I
I can get behind that.
I can get
I'll support
behind that, but
I don't know who Squirrel Girl is.
have you seen John Barrowman as Squirrel Girl? Because
Also compelling. Yes.
yeah, very compelling, and he looks good in tights.
Or
But
you know what? Everyone throws his name into every potential casting. Why not Idris Elba as Squirrel Girl?
Yeah, why
look, Idris Elba did amazing in the new Suicide Squad. And if you want comic book fun, it's the first DC movie that I will ever recommend. Watch the new Suicide Squad. But anyway, yeah, no, I'm.
Well, we know whose side you're on. Okay.
Yeah, we're big. We're big Marvel and DC.
Me too. Like,
Everything.
honest, like Marvel, yeah. Marvel over DC.
Now,
Easy.
Are you a Marvel movies fan, or did you read the comics as well?
Nah, I'm a movies guy. I
Okay.
don't read.
Gotcha.
That's what I tell people. Like, I can't read. Hi, my name is Doc Fox. Never learned how to read. No, it's legitimately like,
Flip
yeah,
it, put
I'm
it
not.
on TikTok.
Yeah, my wife's she's a bookworm, like for
Okay.
sure. But for me, I'm like, nah, let me see the movie. I'm like, I
Fair
like
enough.
that kind of entertainment, you know. And like I remember reading like when I was a kid and I'm like, this is cool. Like I read The Great Gatsby, but whenever The Great Gatsby came out, obviously they had the original, but whenever it came out with Leonardo DiCaprio, I'm like, I want to see that because I'm
Right.
like, I remember reading it as a book, you know, in high school. And I'm like, that was cool. And yeah, like I have the imagination for it, but I think it's one of those things where it's like I I won't say I'm lazy. It's just that I just would much rather just watch it visualized, you know,
Right.
because I think cinema is really cool. And I think that's one of the coolest things about it. I'm like, cinema is something else. Like writing, amazing. Like for somebody to come up with a story, especially, you know, something fiction and like huge, like crazy stuff, like extravagant things. And, you know, the fact that somebody came up with the ideas of superheroes and aliens and it's like, okay, like how like what was going through your mind that's what you wanted, but also like when you see it put to film in the interpretation of the director and the producer of what that should be like it's just taking it to another level, and that's one reason why I really like film.
Yeah. No,
Fair enough.
I love the films. There's some that I think, but I was introduced to this medium and these characters through comic book. Um, so while obviously, like almost everything that I watch nowadays is Marvel, or somehow superhero or supervillain related, because they're doing so much of it, which I love. But there's always that sort of, for people like us, that nagging comparison to how true did they hold to the origin of this character. I'm
Right.
not as picky as some comic fans where it's like, well, they changed his costume and that's so dumb. Shut up. Learn to enjoy something. But if you were to take someone like, say, Peter Parker, and now he's, you know, from upstate New York and wealthy, and he went to Harvard and da 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 da, and he no longer wisecracks while he fights bad guys, like, okay, fuck off. That's not Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. It's
but
like you completely changed the story there.
yeah,
No, that's not him.
Yeah, I mean,
exactly.
they're based on like those mythological figures. Like that's the inspiration for Superman is like your Achilles and stuff like that. And you know they have different versions. They're just different interpretations of them throughout history. But there's always sort of these core values and like specific character things that are intrinsic to the character. As long as you have those things, then an adaptation is fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like how
But I
many
think the people that
Batmans
get
can
like
you have?
a lot.
A lot of Batmans.
Oh my gosh, so many Batmans. I'm like, why is there like 20
We don't,
Batmans?
we
Well,
don't
It's
need
like,
any more
come on, guys.
Batmans. No more Batmans.
And what's interesting is that there's two Batmans who are much more like the comics, and they're not the popular one. Because Adam West Batman, very golden age comics Batman,
Mhm.
Absolutely.
and I
yeah.
love it. And then, as much as I hate this movie. Jake's gonna laugh when I say it. I cannot stand it. Batman and Robin with George Clooney as Batman.
Dude, that yeah.
Ah, maybe the most incorrect everywhere. Butchered the comics, but was possibly, until James Gunn's Suicide Squad, maybe the most comic book movie ever.
I'll
Yeah,
agree
that
with
movie
that.
rules.
Yeah.
That movie rules. I'll defend it until the end of time. That movie rules.
I'm gonna ban it. When we do DC,
It's so bad.
I'm just gonna ban it. Just gone. Get it. Go away.
It's awesome.
I have a lot more that I could keep talking about that time. This conversation has been great. Obviously, I want to keep having conversations with you, sir. But it is time for us to move into Jake's segment, which is shenanigans. So let me go ahead and play this. Why is that not working? Awesome. I'll figure that out later. Anyways.
Want no part of this, Jake?
All right, Jake. Let's move into shenanigans.
Okay. Well, today we're going to be playing a game called Where in the Disney World is Carmen Sandiego?
Oh goodness,
Uh-huh.
this will be good.
I'm not playing.
Kyle, you are. And it is a very simple game. Essentially, I will just give you guys an attraction, and you will tell me, not the park, which is what I was originally concerned, but the country that it comes from. Now, there being 2 parks in China, 1 in Japan, 1 in France, and then the 2 in the United States, obviously. And I have removed the one that you already mentioned by name. I feel like that might be too much of an advantage there. But I will also give you guys 3 lifelines as we go through. You have your 50-50. I will narrow it down to 2 countries. Or I will tell you the date that the attraction came out, which is helpful if you know your Disney history. Or I will let you pass the question to the next person, and you will get the question that they would have received instead. So those are your 3 lifelines. And we're just going to go through and see who comes out with the most.
I'm not using any.
Oh, you know what? You do you, Kyle. But Doc, we will start with you as our guest. So the first one up is Ant-Man and the Wasp Nano Battles. What country do you think that is from?
That's from the United States.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah, that'll be my final answer.
Incorrect. That is from one of the Chinese parks.
Damn.
Well, I figured Japan.
Fair enough. David, we will move on to you next. Where do you think the attraction The Bakery Tour is located?
I get a lot of heat for my answer either way. France?
Understandable. It is not from France. That is, in fact, from the USA.
That's good. All right.
Kyle, you're up. Where do you think the Castle of Magical Dreams is from?
I'm gonna go UK.
The UK is not one of the options, Kyle.
Oh, come on.
US,
Okay.
France, Japan, or China.
Fine, I'll just go with Japan.
It is neither UK, where there's not a theme park, or Japan. It is another one from China.
Why can't there be one in the UK? Come on, that'd be great.
Oh my god.
Ask the Disney Corporation, Kyle. I'm just running a game here. Okay, back to you, Doc. Where is Cars Road Trip located?
Cars Road Trip. That's in the U.S.
There are, in fact, many Cars-related attractions in the U.S. That is not one of them. That
That's
one
not
is
one of 'em?
located
Okay.
in France.
Damn it.
We're all bad at this.
This is
Yeah, this is not good. I know there's cars attractions out in California, but
I was floored by the number of Cars attractions, like, across the board. All right, David,
Yeah.
where is Doctor Strange's Journey into the Mystic Arts located? I'm really glad you got this one.
I am too. Because I should
Big
know
Doctor
this.
Strange fan.
I am
Yeah.
a big Doctor Strange fan. Doctor Strange. Is it cliche if I say China? It should be in China.
No, it should be in Tibet.
It should be in Tibet, but there's not a park
Yeah.
in Tibet. Can you tell me I'm gonna use the lifeline, the date one.
Okay. May have forgotten to write them down like an
Way to
idiot.
go. Way to go, Jake.
Listen. I forgot I didn't do that last night until I pulled up the spreadsheet.
Nice.
Okay. It came out in 2017.
Man, that doesn't help me at all. That doesn't help me
Fair.
at all. I'm just gonna stick with my original guess, China. I'm probably wrong, but fuck it.
That is incorrect. It is in the United States.
Okay. In LA, I bet.
I believe so. Kyle, where is Flounders Flying Fish Coaster located?
I'm gonna go with China.
Incorrect. It is based in Japan. Which
Figured it
for
was those two.
I assume because they have a water park has like a shitload of Little Mermaid themed rides.
Makes
Okay,
sense.
Doc, where is the Happy Ride with Baymax located?
Ooh, the Happy Ride with Baymax. I'm gonna go with. Give me a 50-50.
Okay,
My lifeline.
it is located either in China or Japan. Which are you gonna go with?
China.
Incorrect. It is
Damn it.
located in
Right?
Japan. Little known fact, based on a very popular Japanese manga.
Yep.
Big Hero 6 is.
Man, I wish I'd have gotten that one.
Well, David, instead, it seems like you're getting all the MCU ones. Because where is
Okay.
the Iron Man experience located?
Yeah.
Wait, which one? Because there's one that's not supposed to be spoken of.
This is the ride, not the movies.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah.
worry.
Iron Man.
And obviously, it'd be based on universally beloved Iron Man 3.
I'm gonna say Japan.
The Iron Man experience is located in China. No one
Damn
is
it.
on the board still.
Damn it.
So if you guys don't get any, I win, right? That's how this works.
No.
Okay, Kyle. Where is Journey to the Center of the Earth located?
U.S.
Incorrect. It is based in Japan. Back to you, Doc. Where is Luigi's Rollickin' Roadster located?
Luigi's Rollickin' Roadster
That's the one.
in France.
No, this is one of the Cars attractions in the USA.
Yeah.
Chat got
David.
that one right, so you know.
Well done, Chat. Chat gets a point. Chat is winning.
See, logic is winning.
David, where is the Maharaja Jungle Trek located?
Maharaja Jungle Trek.
Yep.
I feel like we get in trouble if we put best.
We have our first contestant with a point. It is, in fact, located in the U.S.
Thank God.
Can I name a place that doesn't have one?
I'll tell you what, Kyle, if they open a theme park in the UK and put that attraction there, I'll retroactively give you a point when that happens.
Got it. I'll make sure I keep track of this.
You do that. But for now, Kyle, where do you think Monsters, Inc. Hide and Go Seek is
Oh, great. Okay.
Oh no, his camera
Sorry, excuse
froze
me.
again.
Ride
There it
and
goes.
Sink. I messed up the pun.
Yeah, you did.
You gotta repeat that. Your camera
There.
did that thing.
Yep. Where is Monsters Inc. Ride and Go Seek located, Kyle?
France.
Incorrect. It is located in Japan.
That makes sense.
Doc, where is The Mysteries of the Nautilus located?
Oh, the mysteries of the Nautilus. I'm gonna say China.
It is not China. It is, in fact, the USA.
That's a California park one. That's a California park one.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna laugh if
Uh,
you just accidentally pulled all like LA rides for the US ones.
I mean, I didn't pay attention to where they came from as far as that, so it's very possible.
That would
And
be
like I said,
funny.
I did delete the Avatar Flight in
The Flight of
Pandora one
Passage,
because
yeah.
he mentioned it by name, so I just took it off the list.
Eh.
No points for you. Denied.
David, where is Who's Honey Hunt located?
I want to say China. I know it's not, but I want to say it just for the comedic value. Because Winnie the Pooh is, banned from China.
Mhm.
I know that
That's
much.
some good knowledge you're bringing to it, Dave.
I know. You know what? Let's see if I can. Let's go for broke. Let's 50-50 it.
Okay. Is it located in the United States or in Japan?
Asshole.
I know.
Japan.
2 points for David. It is Japan.
I know nothing about Disney, but I know a lot about Japanese culture.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
They like Winnie the Pooh.
They do. And we only have a couple left, so if you want to get your lifelines out, it's the time to do it. But Kyle, where is Sinbad Storybook Village located?
France.
Incorrect. That one is also Japan.
Okay. Yeah.
Doc, final one for you. Where is Slinky Dog Dash located?
That's in the US.
That is in the US. Didn't even have to use that lifeline.
Easy one. I've been on that like 3 times.
Nice.
Okay, fair. And David, last one for you and last one overall. Woody's Roundup Village. Where is Woody's Roundup Village located?
Yes.
Incorrect. It is located in China. But nonetheless, David, you come out ahead with your 2 points. With Kyle bringing up the rear with absolutely nothing. David is the winner.
Oh. Wow.
And you win a trip to Disney World. I won't pay for it, but I give you permission to go.
Oh, I see. I see.
You can go without me. That's
Thanks,
your
Jake.
Oh no, you actually have to pay for me to go as well. It's part of it.
I mean, that's generally what happens, anyways.
True.
Okay, so that was shenanigans. Now on to the last segment of the night. I'm going to apologize now and give you our little disclaimer, which has become necessary for legal reasons. We're going to do Kyle's Chaos Corner. This is completely unscripted and uncontrolled. He doesn't let us know ahead of time what he's going to do. So I have to say that the views and opinions expressed in Kyle's Chaos Corner do not express the views and opinions of Let's Play Death Ray. I'm sorry, and if you still like us after this, then great. But it's all Kyle, and it's all his fault. All right, Kyle, what are you doing?
So I want to play a game.
God.
It's called
That's some whack. That's some whack. Get up,
military
and on my back,
harassment
that's some
or
whack.
slang.
I'm talking.
Oh God.
It's military hazing and slang words, basically.
I'm
Okay.
okay with that.
So I'm gonna share the screen that it's the hangman's
Oh,
on.
you have to. Oh, gee. All right, guys, this is gonna get fucked up. Bear with me. All right, here we go. We have your screen share.
All right, there you go.
God, you're gonna
So
make him play
David and
Hangman
Jake.
with you?
Well, I was gonna include you and Jake too. So I was gonna go with Doc first, David, then Jake, and go from there.
Okay.
And I'll give you the hint for this. It's a bunch of sergeants will send out a private to do this.
Okay.
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 Again, we had no idea this was coming.
Yep.
Oh,
I'm
on.
I'm gonna guess the.
I can't
Right.
hear.
can't
There
hear
we
me
go.
because I muted
go.
myself
Yeah,
and was
you muted,
talking.
Yeah.
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 I'm gonna take the letter T.
T?
Yeah, T.
There's one T.
Do I keep going if I get it right, or do?
No, we'll just
What are your
keep,
rules?
keep going around. Do one letter
Okay,
per
Gabe, go
person,
ahead. Okay, go ahead. I have no idea.
unless you can guess it automatically.
Okay.
Then
and how much
anyone
do we
can
have to
jump
pay
in
for
there.
mouse?
Huh?
How much do we have to pay for mouse?
I think you watched way too many shows.
Oh, I see a Thorin.
Yes, my son is trying to. Oh.
David, what
If
will
I-
your letter be?
Alpha A.
2 A's.
Hi.
I'll go with E, Kyle.
E?
E.
2 E's. I'm
Oh.
surprised everyone's gotten a letter so far.
Yeah.
Wait,
I'm gonna take an.
no, go ahead.
think-
Sorry, I'm just saying.
I'm gonna take an R.
R? All right.
R.
No
Ooh.
R.
I just I saw EAT on the first word, and I know it's military
Eat.
phrases. So it's like eat shit. What?
All right.
C.
C?
Hmm?
No
All right.
C.
I mean, looking at these, I feel like there's probably another vowel in there somewhere. I'll go O.
O?
Yep.
No O.
I'll take an N.
N? No N.
Damn.
Man, we're bad at this, guys.
You're very bad at this. L.
L?
Yeah.
There is an L.
Hmm. Okay. I'll take an S.
S? 2 S's.
I gotta be right back.
We can play without him. He's
Yep,
holding us
we'll
back
just-
anyway.
We'll just skip on over.
To give up? Is it my turn?
Oh yeah, it's your turn.
Yeah,
It's
he
exhaust
just-
sample.
Yep. It is.
Go collect some exhaust samples.
Yep. A private
Okay.
sergeants will
Yeah.
send out a private to go collect exhaust samples from either a vehicle or a helicopter and
Yep.
watch the
Gotcha.
fun.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
All right. Next one. I've got 4 of these. So
Okay.
it's a whole lot of fun.
I'll wait for David gets back so that way we can get a clue.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the refreshing taste of Coca-Cola. This podcast
I go
has
with
been brought to you by Coca-Cola. Don't drink any of that Pepsi shit. Drink Coca-Cola.
My
that Mountain
delicious
Dew?
coffee
Oh my
mug of
gosh.
Coca-Cola. Yeah, Mountain Dew's Pepsi, Kyle. Come on. Terrible job.
Mountain Dew's Mountain Dew.
Now it's Pepsi.
What are you guys talking about? It's Mountain Dew.
Mountain Dew is Pepsi products.
It is.
Mountain Dew's Mountain Dew. I don't care.
Mountain Dew is a disaster, is what it is.
Uh-huh. You don't have to drink it, David.
One,
Jake,
one,
if
of,
you don't
one, of
want
the,
to.
one of the greatest failings of humankind.
Oh, really now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Do we
Those are
have to
pretty
go
strong
into the
words.
conversation about why I don't like Coke, Jake?
No, that makes sense, and I don't care.
Yeah.
I have no allegiance either way. I just think Mountain Dew is the absolute worst.
All right, sorry guys. Wind blew the patio door shut, so he could not get to. He could not get to his mom, so came down to visit me.
Gotcha.
All right. So the next clue. Oh, by the way, David, the previous one was exhaust sample. The clue for this one is no soldier wants to be this.
Okay.
Specifically, soldier.
I'm gonna take a T.
No T.
Ooh.
I'll go with E.
E. 1 E.
Give me an R.
R. No R.
And already, guys. A.
I'll take a
Oh wait, fuck! I skipped
Wow,
Doc.
skipping
Wow.
ahead.
Look, I'm sorry. I'm not
Damn.
paying attention. You can hit me later.
I'm gonna take a B.
Ooh, I feel. Oh, okay.
A.
Hey.
Yeah.
Give me a U.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can call it out if you know it.
It's Blue Falcon.
Yep.
Yay. Same done. Woo.
At least he's not Rorschach testing you. Although I feel like that would be more appropriate.
What do you see?
He really did that to one of our guests.
Oh,
He
yeah,
just
he
showed
sure
a bunch
did.
of images,
Oh
and
my
he's like,
goodness.
"Oh, I'm not." Yeah,
it was great. It was great.
I like this.
Fucking
This is
grade
good.
A material.
But now we got 3 words.
Yep.
Yep. This is a form you can fill out.
Oh. Well, it's not the one I know of.
It's the hurt feelings report.
Yep. It is.
Yep. Fair enough. I immediately went to ID 10T, and I was like, "That's too much for this."
Yeah. That's a
Yep.
hurt feelings report.
We also have those.
Oh man.
Yeah, well, without a single letter. Well done.
Right?
I know.
Oh
Like,
my god, it's 3 words. Hurt feelings report.
mhm.
Yep.
Fair enough.
First time that Sergeant showed me that, it was great.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. This one was. You could be called this at any moment.
Bitch.
I like that Jake just. All right, Doc, you can take a letter.
Let's go with A and F.
Okay.
David.
A. Jesus.
E.
T.
20.
An O.
10.
R.
Noir.
An L.
Well, that's
That was an I.
That's not an L.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's idiot.
Yeah. Idiot.
Nice.
10 Tango.
I mean,
Thanks.
fitting way to get that one.
Right. Yeah.
Oh well.
What an ID10T.
That's it.
That's it for the chaos corner, huh?
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Well, oh my word. Oh Lord. Okay, well there's that. We survived Kyle's weirdness. Again, Doc, thank you so much for coming on. I always appreciate it. It's always fun to. Jesus, sorry, there's a fly in front of my face. It's always fun to converse with people who, have things that they're passionate about, but as well as just have good solid conversations. Definitely want to continue talking to you in the future. I definitely enjoy you a lot. So one of the things that we do at the end is just kind of give you another option to promote if you're working on any special projects, or just throw out your stuff and let people know where to find you. So if you want to go ahead and do that now.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Doc Fox. You can check me out live almost every single day on Twitch at twitch.tv/DocFoxTV. You can also find me on every single other social media platform. That's youtube.com/DocFoxTV. At me at Twitter, DocFoxTV, and even on TikTok. I'm even on Instagram, which is kind of something I don't use a whole lot of. But I am everywhere. DocFoxTV, you can find me at the end of the URL. Just check me out. I'm a guy that likes first-person shooter games. I enjoy the occasional story game, but usually it's all first-person games. That's kind of my go-to. So stop over, drop me a follow. If you guys are from my community and enjoy these guys, though, check them out. Drop them a follow. There's a lot more streamers you can meet throughout the LP Death Ray community. So I appreciate you guys' show. You guys did a really good job. This is really, really well done, and I appreciate it. It's not just something where you guys just get somebody on here and you just BS for a couple hours. You actually prepared. Yeah. So I appreciate that. So thank you guys.
Well, thank you very much, guys. We appreciate everybody being here, and we will see you guys next time, next Monday. Have a good night. Thanks for watching the video. We hope you guys enjoy it. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Click the little bell icon so you don't miss any of the future episodes. And if there's any content creators that you want us to see interview, then make sure tag them down in the comments below. Send us an email, whatever it takes. We'd love to get in touch with them. Love to bring them on. And remember, have a wonderful day.